Hey everyone, and welcome. I am Morgan Gist McDonald, founder CEO of Paper Raven Books, and I have a super special guest with us today. If you like romance books, if you like some comedy, some characters with some depth, enemies to lovers, you are in the right place. I am talking about the mouth-watering series, Book One, Food Fight, and I have with us today author Thea Lambert. Thank you for being here, Thea.
Thank you for inviting me.
I love not only book one, I love that this whole series, and you have multiple books, and book one is, where you sort of recommend people dive into. I love book one because you're introducing these characters that have such depth and such a fun conflict. Can you kind of tell us a little bit about the characters we get to meet inside of Food Fight?
Sure. Our heroine is Charlie, and she is a chef who has come up the ranks the hard way. She didn't get to have a formal culinary education, so she started from the bottom at a restaurant and worked her way up to sous chef before becoming dissatisfied and starting her own food truck business. Now she's been invited to participate in the newest culinary competition called Food Fight. And she's thrilled about it because a wing will show her talent to the world, as well as give her some good prize money to pay off a large debt on her truck. But she's flummoxed, mortified, dismayed when she discovers that her high school nemesis, Drew, is also a contestant. Drew is the bad boy of the culinary world. He was in a previous TV food competition, which he lost, and which a lot of people thought was kind of shady. So now he wants to prove his talent to the world, as well as needing the prize money himself to fulfill a promise he made over the grave of his best friend. So Drew feels bad about how he treated Charlie in high school, but he has a job to do. He needs to win this just as much as she does. And when he discovers how good she is, that she's his main competition in this show, he knows that he has to get her off her game. And he decides what better way to do that than by trying to romance her. So Charlie is going back and forth about her feelings for Drew and wondering, are his attentions real? And meantime, Drew is finding he's falling for his mark.
So good. I love the tension and the conflict that is set up like right away. I mean, and you had told me, before we hit record, a little bit about like that very early days conflict between Charlie and Drew when they were first like applying to culinary school. And it sounded like he got an edge over her, even like back when they were young. And she's kind of holding a grudge.
Yeah, he got a scholarship to the school that not necessarily she should have won, but it wasn't a fair fight. And it caused her to feel as though she was being pushed back on her goals, having to start off at the bottom of a restaurant rather than learning everything she could at a prestigious culinary academy.
She's not exactly inclined to be romanced.
No, not at all. Not at all. Between his kind of bullying because she was the fat girl, as well as this, which is a far worse thing he did in her eyes than just teasing her all those years. Yeah, she's not particularly inclined at the beginning.
And Charlie has a great depth of character. I mean, her own internal conflicts. Like she really, I mean, you just alluded to it, she had her own kind of like body image sort of struggles, being teased in high school. I mean, how many of us remember that? We
Right.
relate to that feeling, especially as a teenager, but still having this drive to be in the culinary world, in the foodie world. And, I love that the book takes place on a reality TV, food show for all of us who, secret guilty pleasure of all the, like baking shows and cooking off shows and the chef shows. It's like we get to be in that world inside of Food Fight. So
Exactly.
it's super fun. So I'm curious, Thea, what were some of your like desires inside of writing this book? What were some of the themes that you wanted to explore?
Well, a theme is cooking shows. I think I love food, but and most people do, but um, certain people, I guess the foodies, as you would call it, we have this romance with it, the desire to see new things be created, things we never thought of. And it's not that we don't love to eat it, but I think watching the creation is part of the deal. I'm kind of a person that loves to watch people develop art in all senses of the word. I think food can be an art. I've always watched people who create art, music, dance, painting, and say, well, what was your desire here? What was your impression that made you want to go in this route? Probably I annoy people with that a little bit. I love that. And kind of with writing too. I've never really thought about it for myself, but I ask others. Um, so I think we all have talent, whether it's in one of the five senses or even things like math and science. I mean, to them, it's an art to discover. And so I hope people get some of that enjoyment from the book and think about what they could enjoy, or maybe think, hey, I never really thought about food in this way. Maybe I'll watch one of those shows, and instead of thinking about the competition, oh, she was terrible to that person, or just really look at what they're trying to create. And also I think a big theme in my books are about friendship. And Charlie has a really good friend named Lula, who is a funny, smart, protective, and she doesn't trust Drew. She remembers the past and she's trying to make sure Charlie doesn't forget that. And that's another conflict in there, because Charlie knows all that, but still is being drawn to the man.
So it's not just Drew and Charlie. Drew's got to work on
Yeah,
Charlie's friend too.
exactly. And I love books that feature a lot of friendship as well as romance. Um, Romantic partners should be friends to a certain extent, but you need those other friends where there's no romance involved. They can be totally straight with you because they know they're not going to hurt you in that way. And Lula and Aaron, the sous chef for Drew, they all become friends later. And it goes on in the other books. You'll see them. They're not the most important people in those other books. There are other protagonists, but they are, I would think they make the character as well as the reader comfortable, because they become old friends to the reader as well.
Yeah, your lovable supporting cast is like part of the endearing, especially with the series, and it's so fun that we get to keep encountering and interacting with these characters that we grow to love. That's part of the fun of a series, and you get to see them in new adventures and new
Right.
scenes, and then other people come in. And so, yeah, you're building out this whole world, this whole set of people that we get to know and love. I'm
Exactly.
curious, Thea. So if someone likes another book, what type of book, if they like this book, would they like Food Fight?
Okay. Um, well, romance, but also more specifically romantic comedy. So if you enjoy, say, Pippa Grant, Julia Kent, some of the older writers like Jennifer Cruzy or Susan Elizabeth Phillips, who all have a lot of humor in their books. Um, Also, people who are more what we call chick lit. So Helen Fielding of Bridget Jones's Diary or Sophie Kinsella. I think you would like these books because I do put humor in them, though it's not slapstick, just humor for humor's sake. I try to have a heartfelt story as well as the humor.
Yeah. Well, folks, if y'all are here and you're like, this is my kind of book. I love the romance and the friendship and the food and this kind of, dramatic conflict where we know there's a lot of heart at the heart of it, deep inside of the book. Good news is you can get Food Fight right now. We've got it on promotion. We want to get the book out to as many people as possible. So if you just click the link next to this video, go to paperravenbooks.com/foodfight, all one word. That'll take you straight over to Amazon. You can grab the ebook. It's on promotion right now. So you can grab the ebook, download it on your Kindle or Kindle app for the weekend. So you've got it locked and loaded and ready for as soon as you're ready to dive into a new book. And so we'd encourage you to go ahead and grab your ebook right now. Of course, the physical versions are out too, if you prefer the physical, which so many of us do. But go ahead and grab the ebook while you're here and while you're thinking about it. And if you know anyone who enjoys this kind of romance, fun, full of heart, friendship, enemies to lovers, then tag them in this video or share this video with them too, so that you can read it together. It's always fun to read with a buddy too. So Thea, kind of last question, giving people a little bit of a sense of the series as a whole. Once we dive into Food Fight, we meet Charlie and Drew, all of these fun characters. Can you give us a little bit of a preview of some of the other books that are kind of coming down the road for us?
Sure. The next book features Charlie's friend Lula, who is finding herself in a sort of a friends with benefits situation while she's doing a mural for the restaurateur. She's ready to leave the country and explore the world, but he makes her a offer she can't refuse. And that's how they start their journey that turns into romance. And the conflict is, will she go or won't she go? And then book 3, we have sort of a mistaken identity going with Erin, who is the former sous chef of Drew's and who's studying to be a patisserie chef. And she is invited to make the wedding cake of a rich fellow student whose brother she has encountered in not so pleasant circumstances. And they do not know who the other is for a lot of the book, and complications arise. And finally, with Perfect Pairing, we had a character, Willa, who's introduced in the previous book, who is a fat or body acceptance blogger, and who one time writes an article that gets published in the Austin newspaper saying that she is as healthy as anybody else. And she is badmouthed, I guess you could say, by a personal trainer. She goes to confront him, and they are spotted by the reporter who interviewed the personal trainer, and she decides, hey, let's have a contest between these two, see how healthy she is. and they call it the great weight debate. And so we'll see them fall in love. We'll see their weaknesses, because even though he is accepting of her weight, he doesn't like it, but he is accepting of her. They both think they're more over their, say, problems of youth, her with her weight, his with an illness, and it almost destroys their relationship. So it's a little more serious than the others, but I do try to add some humor in that one as well. And I'm hoping to write a couple of others, which are still in my head. So keep tuned.
Yeah.
And hopefully I'll have that an
That's the fun
interview
part.
here again.
Exactly. That's the fun part about the whole mouthwatering series that you're kind of creating for us, Thea, is like we get to dive right into book one, Food Fight. We know we have several books kind of locked and loaded and ready for us. And, we all love binge reading, right? We find a new favorite
Yes.
author. We're just so excited to get onto the next book, and you're going to keep providing more for us. So this is just such good news. So folks, if you're like, this is exactly the kind of book and author who I have been looking for, again, go grab book one. Why not? On promotion right now. You can grab the ebook instantly. That buy now, one click button, download that ebook and load it up on your Kindle. And there's so much more goodness ready for you. And Thea, you're going to keep on introducing us to these characters. I love the conflicts. You have them so like, them. It's such an intentional book, right? Like you have crafted this experience for us and for these characters. We get to watch them grow and interact and be in new scenes, new conflicts, new situations, and you just have such a compelling and creative writing style. So thank you for bringing the mouthwatering series to us, Thea.
Well, thank you, Morgan. Appreciate it.
All right, folks, go grab Food Fight, and we will see you next time. Bye, everybody.